original definition of God is that God is a being that possesses attributes such as omnipotence and omniscience. Why does God even need to know anything? If God knows something, does that mean intelligence is something is outside of God? Is God some kind of being with a brain of 2 billion IQs that can think 2,000 thoughts and experience 30 different emotions at the same time? Or does it live through dozens of lifetimes simultaneously in a fraction of a second? How can God know anything? As if intellect is some kind of fabric for existence, and God is made out of that substance. You might argue that God has infinite intelligence, and that it knows everything, the seen and the unseen, the known and the unknowable. You might say, if you're so smart, then why don't you tell me how an atom was created, or how the planets revolve around the sun, or how the whole universe, containing an infinite number of dimensions and all of the animals, plants, and matter inside of it, came out of nothing. I'm here to tell you that yes, the universe can be infinitely complex, with all of its dualities and attributes, which are infinite in number, and can very easily be made up by a very powerful being with high intellect. But that being is not the God. Again, you're making this argument because you're assuming that the universe cannot exist without a creator with intelligence. You're assuming that the creation process is similar to how a potter makes a vase from clay, or how a painter produces a piece of art. And you would be right. There's a high probability that our universe is made by a higher being, with much greater intellect compared to a regular biological being like us humans. Was our world a simulation created by computer engineers? Or was it created by spiritual beings? Who knows? Does it even matter anyway? Would it matter if their technology runs on electricity, dark matter, or ectoplasm? Here's something to think about. They might have made this world somewhat similar to their world, with attributes such as colors, sound, or emotions such as happiness, grief, and fear. Or they might have made everything completely from scratch. If our world falls into the latter case, I'd say that's pretty impressive. Imagine making up an entirely new sensory organ beside the 5 senses that you have now. Maybe their world doesn't have properties such as time or space. Pretty hard to imagine, isn't it? Anyway, in the event that a God suddenly reveals to all of the NPCs, which would be us, that it made everything up by itself, would you be inclined to fall on your knees and praise the true God before you? I want you to do a mental exercise for a second. Imagine you're walking down the streets, a bag of groceries with a pack of Monster in your hand, and all of a sudden a voice starts to sound in your head. I believe it's time, the voice says, sounding like a really soft-spoken 30-year-old guy who works as an IT. He tells you that he is God, the creator of this world as well as all others. He tells you that he knows everything and he wants you to test his knowledge because he's sensing doubt and fear in you. So you go ahead and ask him all kinds of questions. On which day did I get this scar? Name all of the people that I'd talked to during 2nd grade. What is reality? Did the Big Bang really happen? Who was in Paris? And he answers every single one of them, except for the last one. He even tells you how he made up all of the knowledge in your world. The scientists didn't come up with the metric and the imperial system. He did. Apparently there are things that are even smaller than the Planck length, but they wouldn't be discovered at least until 1973 by Jacob Bekenstein. He tells you how there is an infinite number of universes in each of these particles. Each of these universes is fundamentally different from ours, in that they're also created from scratch with completely different attributes. And he made all of them. He might really be God, the creator of all worlds. But are you really convinced? He might really know everything, but is he really God? So you ask him the obvious question that any non-believer would ask their God. Are there any other gods out there like you? He says, no, I'm the be-all and end-all. I know everything and I create everything. You ask him again, are you sure? Are you sure there isn't something that is outside of you and gave you existence in the first place? And he's like, not that I know of. You ask him to prove his omnipotence, and he lets you enter his headspace for a while. You see infinite layers of universes laying on top of each other, expanding in scale and complexity indefinitely. The unfolding keeps getting faster and faster. Maybe he really is God, you said as your cerebellum ruptures inside your skull. But is he really God? There's nothing outside of God, but what if there was? They say that the physical universe is infinite in size. You can just keep zooming out at a speed faster than light, and you'll be on a journey that lasts for an eternity. Yet there's always a possibility that the infinite physical universe is contained within something else. Maybe this thing contains a different attribute other than physical. This idea becomes much more plausible nowadays when we have technologies such as the computer. Pay attention to the device in front of you. You're looking at a world of pictures and sound, as well as unlimited human knowledge that is neatly stuffed inside a tiny piece of metal. Our technology has advanced to a point where you can open up a video game and move your character on unending procedurally generated terrain. And the whole world is somehow compressed into a processor chip smaller than the size of a fingernail. When we look at things like that, the possibility of something beyond the infinite doesn't seem too far-fetched. So why did I talk about all of these things even though I was supposed to be talking about intelligence and its relationship to God? I did it to show you that everything can be created by an intelligent being. I want you to see how it is possible for a being with high intellect to create universes out of thin air. Yet there must always be something outside of this being. If God needs infinite intelligence to create the world, then God is finite. Anything that is finite in any way simply cannot be the one true God. So, to summarize, intelligence is capable of endless creation, but it is ultimately finite. Intellect is an attribute that is part of God, not something that is outside of itself.